Hello and welcome to OctopusDo. I'm Christian Ross. This video is part 3 of our Even Count Peyote Stitch for beginners. What we're going to do in this video is make a project. I'm going to show you how to make a ring using those Delica beads, those cylinder beads that we talked about in the last video. We're going to take the ends, join the ends together into a continuous circle in the size of a ring that you can wear. If you're ready for this project, then let's get started. So what you're going to need for this project is your size 11 Delica beads. This is what I started working with in the last video, and I have a strip so far, and we're going to turn that strip into a ring. Now you need to know what size ring you wear, or you can do what I did with this particular strip. As I was weaving it, I would occasionally just pick it up and wrap it around my finger to see if the ends would meet on the other side. Doing that, I got an approximation of the size that I wanted to make this. But if you are making this for someone else and you know what size they wear, then using a ring mandrel would come in really handy. I have my handy dandy ring mandrel here from Beading. It's a nice small one that you can travel with. And how it works is you just hold it out. It has numbers on it, and those numbers correspond to ring sizes. So I take my strip that I've been weaving and I wrap it around until the ends meet. So that's pretty close. So if I close this up right now, okay, it goes to that line. Let me move my ring out of the way, and you see that was the size 8. Well, the problem is it didn't really fit all the way down over the 8. So in truth, that means that this is more likely a 7 3/4 ring size, because it just goes right above the 8. So it's not quite a size 8. What's really cool about handmade pieces of jewelry like this is you can make it whatever size that you want. You don't have to wait for an exact 8 or an exact 6. You can make it 5 3/4 if you need to. So that's one thing I love about handmade jewelry. So I am ready to join the ends on this project. The first thing that you have to look for is you have to make sure that the pattern at the end on one side lines up with the pattern at the beginning of the other side. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, on this particular ring, on this design, it does not line up. And what I mean is, this bead here, I'll just show you with my needle. This bead here on this row is out as the furthest point. This bead on this side, this row, is out at the furthest point. So they don't lock together like a puzzle. They're both sticking out. So I have to make one more row. Since this piece is 6 beads wide, one row is only 3 beads, so I just had to add 3 more beads. So let's see how that matches up. Can you see how that lines up much better now? The furthest point right here goes to the second row on this side. Now, if you watched the first video, remember how I told you to bury your threads if you needed to end one side and begin the other? We're pretty much going to do that with this project, but what we're going to do is sew through the end of the first row with the thread from the last row to join everything up. And then we're going to sew back and forth a few times to really kind of lock everything into place. So what I mean when I say that is, I take my needle, and it's coming out of this bead on this row. So I'm going into the first bead over there. Pull that, not really tight, because I'm going to sew everything and then pull it tight to cinch it up. So I've gone through that first bead. Now I come back to the side I ended and I go through the second bead that's sticking out a little further. There we go, so we've gone back and forth. Come back to the first side there. Go through the next one. Come back over here. And I'm going through every bead. Come back to that side. Oops. Don't want to pull it tight just yet. Now back over here. It's kind of like lacing up your shoes. So I've joined everything back and forth. I started on this side, I just went back and forth. I'm going to pull everything tight. There you go. The only thing that isn't joined is where the ends are coming out. There's a little bit of a gap. So I'm just going to take my needle here and go out this side, it's out that side, and back in here, and sew in that diagonal that we talked about earlier. And if you have a hard time going all the way across, then you can come out, like I'm going through just a few beads here. I've gone through 4. You can come out and pull that through. Pull it nice and tight, and then go back in to finish that diagonal. All right, now this is still the end, and this is the one with my needle that I'm going to keep sewing. So you can't even tell at this point where one end left off and the other went. It's a good time to test fit your ring now to make sure it fits, so you don't have to add any more rows or take any off. Wow, looking good so far. So very gently pulling this off, because I don't want to pull anything apart because I've only cinched it up with 1 row. Go ahead and sew back through at least 2 more times. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the needle off, add it to the remainder side, the rest of the thread that you started with, and then sew it back and forth a few times. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll let you see close up what I'm doing, and we're almost done. All right, this is the last time I'm going to go through with this first thread. And so I'm coming out of the middle of the rows here, because that's where I'm going to trim everything. So I can cut this thread right there, or I can use a thread set or anything like that. Right, then I'm just going to roll the beads around, and then that makes the thread go inside and you can't even see where it was. All right, so that's nice and smooth. So then you thread your needle onto the remainder of the other side. Make sure you take that stop bead off, and you do the same thing. You weave back and forth to hide that thread, to bury it inside, trim it off close and hide it. So I'm just going to take this and weave in the opposite direction. So I have that going in diagonally. Pull that through, nice and snug. Then go another couple of rows. Now this is a snug fit, because these little beads, these cylinder beads, again, they fit together so nicely that there's not a lot of room for your needles. So just be patient. Wiggle it around some. If you can't make it diagonally through an entire row, remember, just go through a few beads, like right here. If you need to use your pliers, do that, but do it very carefully or you'll bend your needle. So there you go, I'm just taking my pliers, just very gently push that through. Oh, and please be careful and don't push it through your finger. I've done that a few times. Here we go. And don't try to go through the same bead too many times. You may end up cracking that bead. And it really is kind of a pain to try to replace a bead in the middle of a project. All right, I think I'm gonna go through one more row and call it done. You know what? I'm not even going to go through the whole row. I went through 3 beads and the needle came out on that side, so I think that's where I'm going to stop. So pull my needle through. Nice and tight. So you can see where it comes out. So trim that off. Just a nice little snip. And then just roll it around, remember, and that will hide the end. So we have a cute little ring. Check the size on that. All right, by adding that extra row, this kind of slid down a little bit more over that 8, so it's a little bigger. It is a size 8 now. So if I had needed this smaller, instead of adding more beads, I would have taken off a row. I have a feeling this will work quite nicely. And there you have it. It's very comfortable to wear like this. It's a flexible ring and really pretty. Because it's flexible, I bet it would make a great thumb ring. So if you ended up making it a little too big, then just try it on another finger. Oh yeah, look at that. Very, very cute. Well, I hope you enjoyed this project with the Even Count Peyote Stitch and Delica cylinder beads, size 11, Wildfire or Fireline thread, size 6 pound on that, and just quite an easy little project to make. You can do the same thing with a larger strip and make a bracelet that you can just slide over your hand. Or, you know, you can always just add a clasp to the end, whichever way you desire. I am going to tackle Odd Count Peyote Stitch, which has just a little bit of a different technique, but it's still a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this project, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, now you know, go make something.